Since then, Michael Crane has made headlines in court for his outburst as a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen.
I don't have a contract with this court. These are your laws, not my laws. These are your rules, not my rules.
Again, because I've already said it on record, to represent myself as a sovereign citizen.
I'd rather represent myself to get an attorney.
You already sworn in, so state your name again.
Jamal Cromarty, sir.
Mr. Cromarty, you're asking to represent yourself next week, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
This is Michael Crane, who's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, arson, kidnapping, and multiple burglaries in Phoenix, Arizona. The story begins on January 26, 2012. Crane and an accomplice broke into the Phoenix home of Bruce Gaudet, tied him up, burglarized the residence, killed him, and set the house on fire. 4 days later, Crane committed a nearly identical crime at the Paradise Valley home of Lawrence and Glenna Shapiro, binding, robbing, and murdering the couple before torching their home and later burning their car. Crane's criminal acts left 3 innocent people dead and shocked the community. But his courtroom behavior would have become just as infamous. From the outset, Crane identified as a sovereign citizen, repeatedly challenging the court's authority, refusing to recognize his legal name, and asserting that he wasn't subject to the court's laws.
Since then, Michael Crane has made headlines in court for his outburst as a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen.
I don't have a contract with this court. These are your laws, not my laws. These are your rules, not my rules.
But that was not all. Crane's disruptive tactics included attempting to fire his court-appointed attorney multiple times.
You have a lawyer.
I do not have a lawyer. I have never hired this lawyer. In fact, I'm firing this lawyer right now.
We've been down this road.
We have been down this road. Let this record reflect that I'm here with force counsel. Your Honor, you should be speaking to me. I'd like to state something for the record here.
And then, he claimed that the Arizona judicial system was a criminal enterprise.
I believe the state of Arizona has turned the Arizona judicial system into a criminal enterprise accountable to no one.
Judge Warren Granville, however, maintained remarkable composure throughout Crane's antics. As the proceedings continued, Crane's behavior escalated. He frequently interrupted the judge, made bizarre legal claims, and asserted that the court had no jurisdiction over him.
I don't have a contract with this court. These are your laws, not my laws. These are your rules, not my rules.
Crane's courtroom outburst became so frequent that he was removed from several hearings for being disruptive and making obscene statements to the judge. His hostility toward his attorneys was equally apparent. Despite his attempts to derail the proceedings, the legal process moved forward. The evidence against Crane was overwhelming. A gun used in the killings was found in his possession during separate crimes committed days after the murders. Shoes stolen from Gaudet's home were recovered at another burglary, with Crane's DNA on them. A woman connected to Crane was found driving Gaudet's SUV near Yuma on the day of the murder. The court meticulously documented every instance of Crane's defiance, ensuring the record reflected his pattern of behavior. Crane's sovereign citizen tactics included referencing the Uniform Commercial Code as a super law, claiming the court operated under maritime admiralty law, and asserting that his legal rights had been violated by the use of his name in all capital letters. As the case dragged on for 7 years, the victims' families grew increasingly frustrated with the delays and Crane's courtroom theatrics. But the legal process remained steadfast. Crane's defense attorney, Jamie Sparks, provided important context about his troubled upbringing, a mentally ill mother, and a childhood marked by abuse. She argued that all the adults in Crane's life had failed to recognize his mental health issues, but despite claims of mental incompetence, multiple court-appointed experts determined that Crane was fit to stand trial.
Months after doctors deemed he was competent to stand trial, and for pleading guilty, he will avoid the death penalty, but hopefully provide some sort of closure to the family of those hurt by these brutal killings.
The legal standard of competence, understanding the proceedings, and being able to assist in his defense was clearly met. As the evidence mounted and the legal options narrowed, Crane eventually pleaded guilty to the murders, arson, kidnapping, and multiple burglaries. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty, he agreed to 3 consecutive natural life sentences plus over 300 years for related charges.
hopefully it'll bring some sense of closure for the family. So
Michael Crane's anger and fake legal claims couldn't save him. But in another courtroom, someone far worse was waiting. The confrontation between Daryl Brooks and the justice system took an even more dramatic turn. This is Daryl Brooks, who's charged with 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety, 6 counts of hit-and-run resulting in death, 2 counts of bail jumping, and 1 count of battery in Waukesha, Wisconsin. On November 21st, 2021, during the annual Waukesha Christmas Parade in Wisconsin, Brooks turned a moment of joy into unspeakable horror. He drove his red Ford Escape directly into the parade route, plowing through the crowd at nearly 40 miles per hour, killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others. The victims included children, grandparents, and local performers, families who had come out to celebrate the holidays. Witnesses described the scene as a war zone. Bodies lay scattered across the street, screams filled the air, and panic took over.
We have about 10 to 15 people down in the street. We also got multiple critical cases.
With my mama. We don't care.
Despite police officers' desperate attempts to stop him, Brooks refused to slow down. One officer even fired at the SUV, but the vehicle kept moving until Brooks finally fled on foot. He was arrested shortly after, hiding in a nearby neighborhood.
Victims, a cop fired 3 times.
Oh my God! Oh!
Hands up! Hands where I can see them! Whoa! Hands up! Hands up!
In court, the prosecution's mission was clear. Prove that Daryl Brooks' actions were not an accident. They were intentional. That he made a conscious choice to drive into that crowd.
You'll learn about Tamara Durand. Marching with the grannies, this is her first parade. You'll see a diagram of where she was positioned. You'll see video of her getting struck. The medical examiner will tell you that Tamara Durand, cause of death, multiple blunt force.
But that was not an easy task because prosecutors were soon to discover that this wasn't just another defendant. Brooks was a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen, a man who refused to recognize the authority of the court that was about to decide his fate.
So we're not going to address subject matter jurisdiction that has yet to be proven for the record.
For the record, I have addressed it.
No, you haven't proven it for the record.
And your objections noted for the record.
Have you proven subject matter jurisdiction for the record? Have you proven it?
In a stunning twist, he fired his lawyers and decided to represent himself. At first, he appeared emotional, even remorseful, giving an opening statement that seemed almost human.
Everyone in this room has been taught, pretty much as far back as we can remember, is that there's always 2 sides to every story.
But that was short-lived. What followed was pure courtroom chaos.
What type of statement is that? Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
I don't think it's funny whatsoever.
So I think, Your Honor, with all due respect, I think you should show some respect.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
At one point, he even stared down the judge, refusing to answer questions or acknowledge the authority of the court.
An OWI 4th from 2003, criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
Judge Jennifer Dorow, who presided over the case, showed incredible restraint as Brooks turned the trial into a circus. Despite all of it, the jury stayed focused. They saw through his outbursts and distractions. And on October 26, 2022, Daryl Brooks was found guilty on all 76 counts.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Daryl E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 3 of the information.
3 weeks later, Judge Dorow delivered the sentence, one that left no room for argument, no loophole, no escape.
It is needed, although largely symbolic, given the number of years that I have imposed here today, because frankly, you deserve it.
Justice had spoken. The Waukesha community finally had closure, though it came at the end of one of the most chaotic, disrespectful, and unforgettable trials in American courtroom history. Brooks made his trial a show of shouting and lies. Yet James Cromarty's case took things even further. This is Jamal Cromarty, charged with attempted first-degree murder and tampering with a victim in Callaway, Florida. June 15, 2019, Callaway, Florida. Cromarty fired 12 shots at Angel Santos, hitting him 8 times. Santos barely survived, crawling through a ditch, until passersby found him and called for help. The evidence was overwhelming. Ballistic tests confirmed Cromarty's weapon matched the recovered bullets. The investigation revealed a clear motive and sequence of events. Cromarty shot Santos at close range and then fled the scene, leaving the victim to die. But against all odds, Santos survived, eventually emerging from a coma to identify Cromarty as his attacker. But Cromarty refused to cooperate from the start. In early 2020, while in jail, he tried to bribe the victim to change his story. That call was intercepted, and the evidence only grew stronger. The courtroom atmosphere thickened as the prosecution presented their case. But Cromarty's behavior in court matched the typical sovereign citizen pattern, with his constant claims of not understanding, accusations of conspiracy, and open defiance of legal authority.
Now you have your maximum exposure is 2 life sentences. Do you wish to reconsider your choices with
I don't understand. I don't understand.
As the proceedings continued, multiple witnesses identified Cromarty as the shooter and described the brutal attack in detail.
You identify him, point to him, and describe what he's wearing.
It's the defendant sitting over here with the blue coat and the khaki colored pants on.
But the trial itself was highly unusual. Cromarty's defense team remained silent throughout, with no opening statement, no cross-examination, no witnesses, and no closing argument. The prosecution presented 10 witnesses, including those who aided Santos and law enforcement officers, all confirming Cromarty's guilt.
Santos did not testify, but 10 others took the stand, including Bay County Sheriff's investigators and those who assisted Santos right after the shooting.
But the courtroom tension truly escalated as Cromarty began deploying classic sovereign citizen tactics.
Contract does not refer nor identify the male standing in this corporation. I, Jamal Cromarty, being forced to go against my will and my best interest. My right of due process have been impeded upon. Also, my 4th and 5th Amendment right have been violated. I invoke my rights of the Constitution to protect me and my best interest. I invoke my 5th Amendment.
The judge, prosecutors, and his own attorney repeatedly tried to explain the gravity of his situation. Cromarty continued to claim ignorance of the proceedings and accused his lawyer of not helping his defense. As the trial progressed, Cromarty's refusal to engage led the prosecution to revoke all plea offers. The maximum penalties became the only option on the table, 2 consecutive life sentences. The judge painstakingly explained the consequences, but Cromarty remained defiant, repeating his claim of not understanding.
Let's take one thing. Do you understand that you've been off for 25 years in prison?
I don't understand, sir, yeah.
Then yes, you do understand you have a plea offer for 25 years in prison.
I don't understand.
Well, the courtroom exchange grew increasingly tense as Cromarty accused both his lawyer and the prosecutor of conspiring against him.
Hell no. I don't understand none of this, what he thought. And it's a conspiracy between these two.
Listen, Mr. Cromarty, what are you?
I don't understand, sir.
I don't believe you, Mr. Cromarty, because you act like...
With every opportunity to avoid maximum sentencing, Cromarty doubled down on his tactics.
What do you ask me to do, Mr. Cromarty?
A fair trial.
All right now, you're going to get a fair trial. Is there anything you're asking me to do right now?
I'm saying I don't need them on my case.
What do you ask? Are you asking me to remove them?
Yes, sir.
And then are you going to represent yourself, or are you going to hire another?
I'd rather represent myself to be the attorney.
You already sworn in, so state your name again.
Jamal Cromarty, sir.
Mr. Cromarty, you're asking to represent yourself next week. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you understand that you're looking at life in prison if convicted of two life sentences.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
The jury took only 20 minutes to convict him on all charges.
It took jurors just 20 minutes to convict Jamal Cromarty of first-degree attempted murder and tampering with a victim.
During the verdict and sentencing, Cromarty appeared subdued, but remained uncooperative. Finally, the judge imposed 2 consecutive life sentences, ensuring Cromarty would never leave prison.
We, the jury, find as to the defendant, Jamal Cromarty, as follows. Count 1. The defendant is guilty as charged of attempted first-degree premeditated murder.
One of his last recorded words in court were a defiant accusation of conspiracy between his lawyer and the prosecutor.
Listen, what are you asking me to do? Or this one right here. Both them 2 right there. I got some that's conspiracy on what they trying to do.
Okay, what do you want me to do?
Jamal Cromarty never backed down, even as the evidence closed in. But Gregory Parker's arrogance would make Cromarty's defiance look almost quiet. This is Gregory Parker, who's facing charges of reckless endangerment, driving with a revoked license, and resisting arrest in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Parker's day in court starts with an air of tension, but no one in that room could predict how far things would escalate. Just a few months before this courtroom appearance, Parker's troubles began on a Tennessee highway. State Trooper Dale Herring caught him flying down the interstate at 91 miles per hour in a 65 zone. Instead of pulling over, Parker led police on a wild chase, all while filming the entire incident.
Well, I'm being pulled over. Got a Tennessee Highway Patrol behind me.
Eventually, law enforcement caught up with Parker and brought him in. But his trouble wasn't over. It was just beginning. When Parker arrived in Chattanooga City Court, he decided that would be representing himself, and quickly established that it would be no ordinary hearing.
I didn't like to sit with this bullshit anyhow. Don't be pushing me around. Before I cross this bar, I waive no rights and I retain all my rights.
Despite multiple warnings, Parker's behavior only grows more disruptive. During cross-examination, he went ahead to ask Officer Herring a number of irrelevant questions, which were clear that they were meant to confuse the officer.
Who's the victim in this situation?
I'm going to object to the relevance of that statement. That is not relevant. You may ask your next question, sir.
He continued making his sovereign citizen arguments, questioning the legitimacy of his arrest. Despite the chaos and disruption, the judge maintained control of the courtroom. With calm professionalism, she addressed Parker's continued objections while making it clear that order must be maintained.
I'm going to object to that question because it's irrelevant under the state law.
That's completely irrelevant.
I'll sustain the objection. You may ask your next question.
As the proceedings conclude, the reality of Parker's situation becomes clear. If convicted on all charges, including the new ones from his courtroom outburst, he could face up to 20 years behind bars.
Find that there's probable cause to believe that all these crimes were committed, and they were committed by this defendant here in this county. And I will bring these cases over to the grand jury.
Parker refused to go quietly. Even as he left the courtroom, he continued to voice his defiance, proving that some sovereign citizens will never recognize the court's authority, no matter the consequences.